No time-based promotion for underperforming school teachers. Smart paddy field project in Sabah boosts production by 50%. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Otto Othman. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said teachers who are negligent in with no discipline and perform their tasks poorly should be excluded from the time-based promotion privilege. He said even though the government accepted the principle of promotion on time-based, it would revoke the facility for teachers who are negligent and have poor discipline.
Kalau disiplinnya lemah, kalau dalam setahun dia tuang tak pergi sekolah banyak kali, saya nak batalkan peraturan itu untuk mereka. Maknanya kenaikan pangkat itu otomatik dari hukum, dari prinsipnya, tetapi dikecualikan bagi yang cuai atau melanggar disiplin. Ada guru yang prestasinya sangat lemah. Jadi kita harus teliti ini dan saya cuma nak beritahu. Tapi saya percaya 90% yang lebih tidak punya masalah.
Datuk Seri Anwar said the teacher's job is to educate people so that there is an element of humanity in each of them. As such, he said each student must have love and affection for the teachers. The Premier added that the welfare of teachers should be protected and at the same time changes should be made. He noted that Malaysia has the ability and capacity to raise the dignity of the nation to be a good model economically, politically, socially and educationally with the basic strength it already possesses. System. The Prime Minister said the scheme is one of the best announced by the government and hopes it would improve the services of civil servants and stop bad practices. He said that although the plan received criticism from various quarters, it did not interfere with the government's commitment to implement it, considering that civil servants had not experienced a salary revision for 12 years.
Yang akan saya umumkan dalam masa singkat dan tamatkan semasa belanjawan, tentunya suatu yang saya anggap terbaik yang pernah diumumkan dalam negara kita. Dan saya harap betul-betul, harapan dia apa? Skim baik, khidmat penjawatan awam pun meningkat.
The Human Resources Ministry has received 362 applications from employers interested in participating in the Progressive Wage Policy Pilot Project since its introduction in June. Now, Deputy Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Rahman Muhammad said the initiative, which aims to improve the wage structure for private sector employees, will complement existing wage initiatives, including the minimum wage order and the productivity-linked wage system. Datuk Seri Abdul Rahman further said that the sectors applying for the pilot project include wholesale and retail trade, motor vehicle and motorcycle repair, professional scientific and technical activities, manufacturing and construction. A total of 50 million ringgit has been allocated for the pilot project, which runs from June to August in collaboration with the Ministry of Economy, targeting 1,000 companies.
Kita peruntukkan untuk 1,000 majikan ya. Dan sambutannya sangat baik. Ini adalah galakan untuk majikan-majikan melaksanakan gaji progresif ni. Jadi kita tampung dulu buat sementara waktu ni. Jadi kita nak keberkesanan.
The initiative is expected to benefit 20,000 local workers earning between 1,500 ringgit and 4,999 ringgit. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, welcomes the government's announcement to look into amending existing laws, including the Penal Code, the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, and to consider the need to draft or create new acts to deal with the issue of cyberbullying. The MCMC said the announcement sends an important signal that the government is committed and serious in dealing with the problem that has resulted in loss of life. MCMC said the move will also enable the authorities to carry out enforcement more effectively, in addition to bringing those involved to court and thus providing appropriate defense to those affected. It also said that the Commission and the Royal Malaysia Police (PDRM) will review the standard operating procedure to facilitate the process of filing cyberbullying complaints. MCMC added that the synergy with PDRM will also be strengthened to ensure that this initiative is effective and has an impact on the people. MCMC and the Communications Ministry are also planning to organize a series of tours throughout the country to disseminate messages and modules to prevent cyberbullying among all levels of people. The Auditor General's report on the process of procurement of littoral combat ships, or LCS, which is said to be at a low level, refers to the previous construction status and not the latest. Now, Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin said the construction of the LCS resumed as soon as the Unity government took over the reins of government, even launching the first LCS ship into the water for testing on 23rd May. Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid also said the construction of the first LCS so far is according to the schedule and planning set by the government. Previously, the media reported an audit review found that the Royal Malaysian Navy's TLDM procurement and acceptance performance until 31st December 2022 was low compared to the target of 18 ships set in the 11th Malaysia Plan and the 12th Malaysia Plan. The procurement total was much lower as only 4 ships were received, equivalent to 22.2% of the target, with 9 more in the procurement process, out of a total of 6 LCS ships, 10 littoral mission ships, and 2 multi-purpose support ships. Still ahead in our business segment, cutting red tape drives growth of EV charging stations. Now, the large-scale Smart Paddy Field Smart SBB program in Sabah has raised paddy production by 50%, increasing yields from 2.8 tons to 4.22 tons in the participating areas. Now, Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu said the program involved 16 participants from Town Gusi Peninting, who carried out planting this season on a 17-hectare paddy field.
Kita harap di Kota Belud ini akan menjadi contoh kepada seluruh Sabah supaya penanaman padi ini dapat dipertingkatkan hasil, termasuk saya cadang tadi soal benih, supaya target untuk mencapai sekurang-kurang 10 tan per hektar pada masa yang akan datang.
Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu also said that Smart SBB program reflects the ministry's commitment to ensuring that the country's food supply, especially in Sabah, remains sufficient and resilient. The initiative also aims to promote sustainable agricultural practices in paddy production, starting with Jelapang Padi Sabah as an exemplary model for other cultivation areas. He said the ministry is also working to implement 3 projects in Kota Belud aimed at providing more sustainable irrigation and drainage system for the 2,100-hectare paddy cultivation area with an allocation of 66.87 million ringgit. In a related development, over 33 million ringgit has been allocated to Sabah to develop and optimize the land use aimed at increasing agro-food product yield. Now, Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu said the allocation, part of the 150 million ringgit provided for the ministry under the 2024 budget for development projects with the state government, marks the highest allocation compared to other states. The projects include the empowerment of integrated ruminant livestock, the establishment of 23 agricultural produce collection centres, and the construction of coffee mills. Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu said the allocation has been dispersed in stages to Sabah on April 4th and 14th May to ensure successful implementation of the programs. All projects will be implemented and supervised by the Sabah Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food Industry through the Department of Agriculture and the State Veterinary Services Department. He said the allocation will also benefit Sabah by creating more job opportunities, thereby boosting the state's socio-economic level in line with the efforts to enhance the self-sufficiency rate as outlined in the National Agro-Food Policy 2.0. Now, the number of electric vehicle EV charging stations nationwide increased by 12.5% as of 25th June compared to the first quarter of this year, driven by the government's efforts to reduce bureaucratic hurdles in the installation process. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said that previously, approvals involved numerous agencies and ministries, including the Energy Commission, local authorities and the Fire and Rescue Department. The minister noted that the increase over the past 2 to 3 months has been significant. He said initially there were approval challenges, but meetings chaired by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof successfully streamlined the process, adding that there is now a one-stop centre to speed things up. Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul added that the government is maintaining its target to have 10,000 EV charging stations nationwide, and raised the target for direct current fast charging units from 1,000 to 1,500 this year. He said while direct current chargers are costlier to install, they are essentially due to high demand from the public. On another note, Malaysia's rating from underweight to neutral by JP Morgan is a testament to the efforts of the Madani government in restoring the national economy, receiving global recognition. Now, this includes the rearrangement of efforts of the manufacturing sector through the new Industrial Master Plan 2030. Through a posting on its official social media platform, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, MITI, however, said the recognition means it can breathe a sigh of relief, but must still remain on alert. Its minister, Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, said for the past year, MITI and its agencies have remained committed towards reforming the industry, trade and export sector. He also said the government is committed to ensuring optimal level of service for all relevant parties. This is to ensure that all services are at a satisfactory level in terms of implemented policies encompassing industries, foreign and domestic investment, as well as micro, small and medium enterprises. JP Morgan has upgraded Malaysia's rating for underweight to neutral after almost 6 years, crediting the country's policy reforms, data center investments and infrastructure build-up. Now, the ringgit is poised to trend higher next week to 4.65 against the US dollar, supported by positive economic indicators. Kenanga Investment Bank Berhad said the indicators include stable labour market conditions, record high distributive trade sales values, and Bank Negara Malaysia's status quo on the overnight policy rate. Kenanga Investment Bank said this has helped to bolster the ringgit, enabling it to overcome the greenback's strength and appreciate more by 0.4% on a Thursday-to-Thursday basis. It further said the solid domestic industrial production index reading for May 2024, coupled with strong second quarter 2024 preliminary gross domestic product reading expected next week, may also boost Malaysia's economic prospects. From a technical viewpoint, a potentially weaker U.S. retail sales reading and dovish remarks by the U.S. Federal Reserve, the ringgit's movement towards 4.65 against the U.S. dollar is possible, though profit-taking activities may limit gains. During the past week, the exchange rate of ringgit and the U.S. dollar moved between a low of 4.713 on 9th July to a high of 4.668 on 12th July. Year to date, the ringgit stood out as the second best performing currency in the Asian region, experiencing a modest depreciation of 1.56% against the US dollar. Now, crude palm oil CPO futures contract on Bursa Malaysia derivatives is expected to trade with a downside bias, giving rising output expectation in the coming week. Palm oil trader David Ng expects prices to trade between 3,850 ringgit per tonne and 4,050 ringgit per tonne next week. Meanwhile, Intraband Group of Companies senior palm oil trader Jim Teh said the crude palm oil market will be trading in the 3,700 to 3,800 ringgit per ton range. He said this is essentially a technical correction due to the high inventory reported by the Malaysian Palm Oil Board for June, which is about 1.8 million tons. Total weekly volume shrank to 300,702 lots from 328,205 in the previous week, while open interest improved to 221,682 contracts from 233,507 a week ago. The physical crude palm oil price for July South dropped 100 ringgit to 4,030 ringgit a ton on Friday, from 4,130 ringgit a week earlier. The local rubber market is expected to trade range-bound next week, with some restocking activities keeping prices and demand equitable. Industry expert Dennis Low said rubber consumption seems to be dropping amid a global economic slowdown. Explaining further, Low said China is a big buyer of rubber, and it seems that is also curtailing purchases, especially foam rubber products. He also highlighted that the Red Sea shipping crisis, coupled with the current geopolitical risks, is pushing down certain commodity prices beyond expectations. He also warned traders about the impact of La Nina, which is expected to start this month. Low noted that traders need to be cautious as any sudden bad weather can hamper rubber production. Meanwhile, according to a dealer, the commodity will continue to track the performance of regional rubber futures markets, the ringgit's strength against the US dollar, and benchmark crude oil prices amid optimism of earlier US interest rate cuts. Traders will keep an eye out for further economic indicators from major economies, especially China's upcoming economic policy, while monitoring developments surrounding China-Europe tariff tensions and the ongoing geopolitics in West Asia. China's express delivery sector saw robust growth in the first half of this year, with several provincial-level regions expected to see express delivery volumes up by over 40% year-on-year. During this year's Spring Festival holiday from 10th to 17th February, China's express delivery industry collected nearly 1.08 billion parcels, with the average daily collection volume soaring by 145.2% compared to the same period last year. In the first 2 months, China's online retail sales of physical goods exceeded 1.8 trillion yuan, up 14.4% year-on-year. Delivery demands for seasonal products, including tea and flowers, surged in March and April, and with the number of express deliveries increasing by more than 2.3 billion packages compared to the same period last year. The daily average express delivery volume reached 480 million in China in May and June. In the first 6 months, China's central and western regions are expected to see year-on-year growth in express delivery volume of approximately 39% and 36% respectively. This represents an increase of 2.2 and 0.8 percentage points in their shares of the national total. The Japanese yen swung between losses and gains in volatile trade, reflecting investors' skittishness after Tokyo was thought to have intervened to prop up the Japanese currency in the wake of a cooler-than-expected United States inflation report. The dollar was last 0.05% lower at 158.79 yen after having risen more than 0.3% to an intraday high of 159.45 yen and falling 0.7% to a low of 157.75 yen within the span of the early Asian session on Friday. The choppy trading came after the yen surged nearly 3% early on Friday morning, in its biggest daily rise since late 2022. Local media attributed this development to a round of official buying to prop up a currency that has languished at 38-year lows. Japan's top currency diplomat Masato Kanda declined to comment on whether authorities had intervened in the currency market to prop up the yen, but told reporters recent yen moves were out of line with fundamentals. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has reached a staff-level agreement with Pakistan for a $7 billion 37-month loan program aimed at cementing stability and inclusive growth in the crisis-plagued South Asian country. The IMF said the new Extended Fund Facility program is subject to be approved by its executive board and obtain timely confirmation of necessary financing assurances from Pakistan's development and bilateral partners. This would include rollovers or disbursements on loans from Pakistan's longtime allies Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and China. The deal caps negotiations that started in May after Islamabad completed a short-term $3 billion program that helped stabilize the economy and helped avert a sovereign debt default. According to IMF data, Pakistan has been plagued by crippling boom and bust cycles for decades, leading to 22 IMF bailouts since 1958, and is currently the IMF's fifth largest debtor, owing $6.28 billion as of 11th July. Argentines say they have yet to feel the benefits of cooling inflation, and analysts predict the five-month streak could end when official figures for June are released. Since President Javier Milei took power late last year, inflation has slowed dramatically in Argentina, acceleration from 25.5% in December to 4.2% in May. The sharp fall has been attributed to a suite of cost-cutting and austerity measures that have put a lid on consumer demand, as well as measures to reduce money printing. A change was forecast in direction for inflation in June, with a median estimate of 5.1%, although Milei's economy minister, Luis Caputo, said the expected June inflation will be below 5%. For many of those living in the capital, Buenos Aires, the slowdown has not been enough to fend off the pain of high utility, transport and food prices in the country, where the monthly minimum wage of 234,315 pesos, equivalent to $260, has failed to keep up with the annual inflation of nearly 300%. Argentina's inflation is still among the highest in the world, while a recession continues to hit consumers hard and poverty is nearing 60%. People are being squeezed hard, with major job losses in sectors such as construction. Coming up in our foreign segment, Nepal recovers first body from buses swept away by landslide. A series of 19 meetings to discuss numerous topics have been planned in Laos, the chairman of the ASEAN for this year. Now, the meetings that are scheduled to begin next week aims to discuss the issue of Myanmar, South China Sea territorial disputes, as well as interconnectivity amongst ASEAN members. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan said in addition to Malaysia, 11 other dialogue partners will be participating in the meetings, such as the United States, China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, Australia, United Kingdom and India.
Ini yang akan kita bincangkan, ASEAN sebagai satu komuniti yang besar, untuk kita menjadi satu blok yang mempunyai penduduk lebih 600 juta, GDP dunianya yang kelima terbesar dan akan menjadi GDP keempat terbesar dunia dalam masa 2-3 tahun lagi. Jadi ini merupakan suatu asas yang perlu kita bina untuk masa depan, supaya ASEAN akan menjadi macam satu kesatuan negara. Tetapi masih lagi kedaulatan masing-masing dan mengamalkan dasar berkecuali, iaitu ASEAN segera bebas, aman dan berkecuali.
In another development, as host for next year's meetings, Malaysia has arranged for 257 meetings with the concept of 20 years ASEAN community starting 2025 until 2045. Nepali rescue teams recovered the first body from around 50 people missing after monsoon rains triggered a landslide that swept 2 buses off a highway and into a river. The force of Friday's landslide in central Chitwan district pushed vehicles over concrete crash barriers and down a steep embankment at least 30 meters from the road. Dozens of rescuers spent hours struggling to comb the raging Trishuli River, an effort hampered by muddy waters and fierce currents. District official Kimananda Bhushal said that roughly 50 people remained unaccounted for, revising down the number of missing from the 63 reported by authorities on Friday. The accident happened before dawn along the Narayangat-Mugling Highway, around 100 kilometers west of Kathmandu. One bus was heading from the capital to Gaur in Ratahat district in southern Nepal, and the other was en route to Kathmandu from southern Birgunj. Road travel becomes deadlier during the annual monsoon season as rains triggering landslides and floods across the mountainous country. Monsoon rains across the South Asia from June to September offer respite from the summer heat and are crucial to replenishing water supplies, but also bring widespread death and destruction. Elon Musk's social media company X breached EU online content rules as tech regulators ruled in a finding that could lead to a fine and significant changes in how it operates. Now, the move by the European Commission follows a 7-month-long investigation under the Digital Services Act, DSA, which requires very large online platforms and search engines to do more to tackle illegal content and risk to public security. The EU executive singled out X's dark patterns, advertising transparency and data access for researchers. It said X's verified accounts, which carry a blue check mark, do not correspond to industry practice and negatively affect users' ability to make free and informed decisions about the authenticity of the accounts they interact with. X has also failed to comply with the DSA requirement that companies provide a searchable and reliable advertisement repository. X was also charged with blocking researchers from accessing its public data. The company, which will have several months to respond to the charges, could face a fine as much as 6% of its global turnover if found guilty of breaching the DSA. The Commission said separate investigations continue into disseminating of illegal content on X and measures it has taken to counter disinformation. In another development, SpaceX's workhorse Falcon 9 rocket was grounded by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration after one broke apart in space and doomed its payload of Starlink satellites, the first failure in more than 7 years of a rocket relied upon by the global space industry. Roughly an hour after Falcon 9 lifted off from the Vandenberg Space Force base in California on Thursday night, the rocket's second stage failed to reignite and delayed its 20 Starlink satellites on a shallow orbit path where they will re-enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up. The Falcon 9 will be grounded until SpaceX investigates the cause of the failure, fixes the rocket, and receives the Federal Aviation Administration's approval. That process could take several weeks or months, depending on the issue's complexity and SpaceX's plan to fix it. Well, that concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, no time-based promotion for underperforming school teachers. Now, do tune in to World Today coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Otto Othman. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant evening ahead.